Hi everyone, I'm Rod the Aussie IT Contractor, and at the time of recording this video, which is December 2021, the world's been dealing with COVID for more than 2 years, and this has done a strange thing to the economy. Inflation is down and interest rates are at historically low levels, which typically means that the country is in a recession. But many industries are not feeling the impacts of the recession. Telcos, insurance, banking, finance, and information technology are all doing really well. In fact, the contractor market is booming in these segments. So strangely, in the midst of a global pandemic, it is in fact a fantastic time for contractors to look for pay rises and for career progression. But how do you go about doing this? Here are some of my tips and strategies for doing exactly that. For a permanent employee, a promotion means both a title change and a rate increase at the same time. But strangely, for contractors, I've found that what you want to do is get the title change first and then the pay rise will follow afterwards. The reason this works is the prospective client is not looking to give you a promotion. They're looking for someone to do a role that they've got now. So if they're looking for a senior developer, they're not looking for a mid-range developer who wants to become a senior developer. They're looking for someone who's already a senior developer. My advice is never use the words trainee, associate, or junior in your job titles on your CV. If you're new to testing, don't put a junior tester, just say you're a tester. If you're a mid-range developer, don't say mid-range developer or associate developer, just call yourself a developer. Once you've been in your role for a genuine 3 to 4 years, then retitle yourself as a senior. Now, don't get too cheeky on this. Obviously, if you've been a business analyst for 6 months, you can't put your next role down as senior business analyst because no one's going to buy that. So you've been a senior for a few years and you're looking up that career ladder, looking for the next step. Unfortunately, the method of retitling your CV isn't going to be enough. The leap from senior BA to lead BA, or senior tester to test manager, or senior developer to solution designer, or senior solution designer to IT architect is going to need an on-the-job upskilling strategy instead. Stage 1 is to teach yourself that new role. What tasks do they perform? What qualifications do they need? Who are their contacts? Who do they deal with? What do they do in a day-to-day? And what do they do if they're managing you? The next stage is to gain experience in those tasks by slowly incorporating them into your own role. You can't just do them once and say, I've done it, and you can't just go and grab a whole bunch of tasks off the next level of role and start doing them, but gradually increase the role, expand what you're doing, expand the scope of what you're delivering, expand your capabilities, and start showing others in your team, in your management, that you're capable of taking on the new tasks and new responsibilities of the next step role that you want to achieve. And the third stage is to build a network of people who are already in the role that you're trying to achieve. And this is a genuine network. This isn't just tapping into people and being sneaky about it. Let them know what you're trying to do. Let them know you're trying to gain experience. Let them know that you're there to help them do stuff that might be drudge work for them, but it's exciting for you. And I will also advise, do it within the organisation that you're working for. Cold networking, network events, LinkedIn for me have not been successful, but networking within the company I'm working for has always led to good results. Once you've grown your role so that you're effectively doing your current role and the role you're aspiring to, then it's time to change your job title. And there's one of two ways that I've successfully done this. First is I hybridised my role title. So when I was moving from a lead BA to a Scrum Master, I was doing both. My CV said lead BA / Scrum Master, and then the details in the CV showed all the lead BA tasks I did and the Scrum Master tasks I did. The role after that was just pure Scrum Master. The other way is to actually do a straight cut over. If you're in a longer term contract in a big organisation and you can get the support from your management, you can convince them, I'm already doing this job, how about just letting me change the job title? There won't be a pay rate change at that point, but I would appreciate the job title. As I mentioned earlier, for contractors, first comes the title and then comes the pay rise. So show me the money. Back in the early days of contracting in Australia in the late 90s, it was almost Wild West, where contractors would quit mid-contract to go to a higher paying role or threaten to quit mid-project to force renegotiation of their rates. That gave contracting a real mercenary reputation in the industry, and we're still feeling the effects of this to this day. So for me and for most contractors that I've worked with long term, the etiquette is to negotiate rate rises only as part of either a contract extension or as part of a new role, not mid-contract. Around 6 weeks before the expiry of the contract is when I start looking at whether it is likely to renew. I'm putting out feelers with the client. Is the project progressing well? Are they happy? Are they looking to keep me on? If the answer is yes, then I start talking to the agency at that point about contract renewals. As part of that contract renewal discussion, I'm going to mention that my role has grown, the project is running successfully, I have great feedback from my client, and the market rates have also moved up. And all of those combined mean that I'm looking for a rate increase. And then I'm very specific about it. I'm looking for X dollars per day or X percent. Your agency can then discuss your contract renewal and your rate rise at the same time. There's nothing worse than accepting a contract renewal and then going back to your agency and saying, oh yeah, by the way, is there any more money involved? No one's going to be happy with that conversation. Negotiating a rate on a new contract is a skill that every contractor needs to develop. There are two things that I always think of when I'm going into a new contract. One is, if I'm good enough to get the job, I'm good enough to be paid for the job. And the second is, I need to understand what the market's actually paying. When I'm talking to an agency about a potential new role, there's invariably one of two strategies they'll use. One is they'll tell you the rate range that the client's able to provide, in which case I'm in a strong market, I'm always going to hit them up for the top rate. You've got nothing to gain from going to the bottom end of the range. And the second one is they'll ask you what you're currently on. Now here's my top tip from 20 years worth of experience. Never tell them what you're currently on. It's no benefit to you. Tell them what you want for the new role. Even if they say, is that what you're on now? I always shift focus back to what the new role's paying, not what my current role's paying. And a quick note on the agency's margin. Agencies will make around 25 to 30% on top of your rate, and that's their income. Now, I don't care what their margin is because they've got to pay their costs, they've got to pay their staff, they've got to pay all their overheads. I'm looking at what I'm getting and I'm looking at what is the market paying me. So people say, oh, they're making so much money, why don't I try and chip some off of them? No, that's the way commerce works. When I go to Bunnings to buy a hammer, I'm not looking at saying, oh, it's a $20 hammer, but I know Bunnings have only spent $10 buying it. That's their margin. I go to a restaurant, I know that the bottle of wine in the restaurant is $30, in a bottle is $15. It doesn't matter, they've got their overheads. I don't try and challenge them on that. So the same for the agencies. Don't get narky that the agency's making money on you. Of course they are. The contracting career requires a whole heap of self-management, but the promotions are there and the pay rises are there as long as you manage it properly. And you've seen enough YouTube videos by this stage to know what the outro is meant to say, so let's take that as a given. If you enjoyed this video, please recommend me to your friends.